Neil from Messick here today to walk you around a new mini excavator. This is Kubota's new KX040-5. Kubota is now rolling into the 5th generation of this series of excavators. This is a particularly important machine for us. Globally, Kubota is the largest manufacturer of mini excavators, and here at Messick, the KX040 is our highest volume excavator that we sell. So we're going to walk around this new machine here today, show you a little bit of its history. Actually, this one's been around for a while, and talk through some of the significant upgrades that are on this machine.
Messick's a helping hand with your land.
So we look at Kubotas, we always start with the model numbers because the model numbers always mean things. In the case of the excavators, this is a KX series machine, which means it's a tight tail swing excavator. As you spin this thing in circles, you'll notice a little bit of the back end of the machine extends out over top of the tracks. There's also a U series, which is a zero tail swing excavator that will stay within the tracks. And 040 tells us how heavy the machine is in metric tons. So if we take 4 metric tons, in this case, times 2.2, that comes into this machine weighing right about 8,800 pounds. Now this is sold in a lot of different configurations and cab and open stations and blades, and so that weight is going to vary depending on exactly how you have this machine set up, but it gives us a very easy way to walk around Kubota equipment and give you an idea of what weight class something is in. This is the -5 variant of this machine. It's replacing an outgoing -4 model. There was a -3 before that. And so as Kubota comes out with new machines, you'll always see this last number increment down here at the end. What I think is the most interesting about this particular excavator, though, is that this one has actually been around for a while. This machine, the outgoing unit, is 12 years old. 12 years of selling an excavator that was very well accepted by the market with no updates to it. And it gives you an idea of just how well done that machine was. It really checked the boxes for a lot of people. But as we pop around this machine here a little bit, you can see it was getting a little long in the tooth, and there are some places that they could have improved, and here they have. Now, if you've seen what's been happening with Kubota's other excavators, you'll probably know that this is not the first -5 series machine, so you can kind of infer a lot of the things that were going to happen to this unit just by watching what was happening in the other models. The cab here in this case has gotten larger, right? I've got more leg room than the outgoing model. I can stretch my feet out more. Because there's more room in here, there's also a little bit more glass, and so I have more high-vis panels. I'd say the sides of the machine have dropped down a little bit, which helps my sight lines out the corner and also out the back. The cab structure itself, while that was being updated, they've also added more noise dampening in here, so it's quieter inside the cab than what the outgoing model is. So now many of those kind of like structural things have modernized. There's a screen in here now, and this screen can do a whole bunch of additional features. Now when screens are put in equipment, some of us get heartburn, including me, right? Screens can be done well or they can be done poorly. Like we've all been in cars and stuff before where this idea has been taken way too far. The screen that's in here, though, I would say kind of hits the mark pretty well, right? It's in both the cab and the open station version. It's weatherized, so it's not limited to just the closed-in machine. It is, made for a dirty excavator environment. It's durable, right? It's also not touchscreen. If you want to operate this screen, you do it with a jog-dial down here, not with your greedy, grimy fingers, right? It's scraping things up and making it hard to see. The screen's largely going to give you diagnostic information about the screen. It can give you information about codes if the unit decides to throw an error on you. But most importantly, it gives you a place to be able to go in and more easily dial in machine configurations. So when you're working with a machine like this that has a lot of hydraulic flow and you're operating different attachments out on the end of the machine, you're going to want to say dial hydraulic flow down to keep that thumb controllable. In the case of this, it's really easy to go through here with this jog dial, select your auxiliaries, and turn that flow down. If you go back to some of the prior models, you used to have to make these adjustments by looking at a gritty little LCD display and trying to watch the numbers as you turn them up and down, right? So this is a nice improvement there in terms of usability. Another standard thing that's in here now is Bluetooth. This is a Bluetooth radio that you can connect your phone to. You can take a phone call while you're sitting in your machine, and it also has an AM/FM radio built into it. There's no way to put a CD player in here anymore like you could on the old machines, but I don't know too many people who are carrying carrying their CDs around to work anymore. So this is going to give you all that radio functionality. The screen can also have a backup camera on it. It is not standard equipment. It's an option that has to be added on, but a simple camera can be added to the back of the machine. It's going to pop up here on the display so that you can see what's behind you while you're backing up. For me, that would be almost a necessity, right? Just for simple safety on a job site or making sure you don't smack the back end of the machine into something. On the right-hand side of the machine here, several updates have been done to the control panel. This is modernized, right? The throttle here is a dial back here, back by your key switch. You have about inch square big rubberized buttons for your different functions like auto RPM or turn on your windshield wipers and your safety lights. And then you have this jog dial control on the front. When you want to go through and make adjustments here on the screen, all you're doing is turning a knob and clicking down for a selection and having a back arrow. That's it. There's not like deep menus to drill into and that kind of thing. So I appreciate the simplicity that there is in controlling that screen. A couple other things have happened in here as well. On the blade over here, the blade control, you lift this up and down to raise the blade, and you twist the knob left to right in order to angle it. This used to be a rocker switch before, so there's a small change here. On the sticks themselves, this is the same kind of control stick that Kubota is known for. These machines do not use electronic sticks. They're hydraulically operated wet sticks, and that gives the machine a really nice feel, something that we've become accustomed to in these excavators and also carries over into the compact track loaders and skid steers, which we're very happy to see this same technology kind of sticking around, right? Because more and more anymore, this kind of stuff is being swapped out for electronics, and we certainly prefer the feel of a wet stick. Another benefit here to having a small screen in these machines is what I would say is finally a solution for theft. If you know construction equipment, you know most every piece of construction equipment out there can be started with a small ring of keys, right? There's never really been anything unique about the keys used in any manufacturer's equipment, and one key is going to go out and start most of these machines, right? And a lot of times you'll find when machines are sitting out in job sites that the keys are often left in them, right? One operator's jumping out, somebody else is jumping in again, and so for that reason, there's real theft concerns with this kind of equipment. In the case of this, though, you'll notice the key switch over here. The key doesn't come out anymore because when you go and you try to turn this thing on, it's going to ask you for a PIN number on your screen. That allows each of your operators to kind of have a unique ID that they can jump into here, hit a 4-digit number over here on the keypad and start the machine up and get it operating again. Another consideration though too is not just having that keyless start, but this machine actually comes through standard equipment with telematics. There's a small cell phone radio in this machine that's updating machine information up to the cloud, and that gives you the ability to see stuff about your equipment from your cell phone. So things like the GPS location of where your machine is sitting, the ability to shut the machine off if it's out operating somewhere and you don't want it to be running, you can send a signal out to it that will prevent that machine from being started again the next time around. So if it's stolen or a rental operation and somebody's not paying your bill, you're able to disable that machine remotely. It also allows you to take your phone and see service reminders, operating hours, maintenance reminders, or if the machine has thrown a code, that's available from your phone. So all cool stuff. In the case of this machine, comes as standard equipment, and Kubota includes, they will say 3 years of that service at no cost to you, but I could tell you from people that have had this telematics system for years now, I've yet to see Kubota come out with rates in order to bill anybody. Probably will come sometime, but you're gonna get a minimum of 3 years and cross your fingers that they keep that going for longer. Part of what we do here at Messick is the customization of every machine for the operator or the contractor that's going to own it. And a lot of times those things are done as dealer installed kits, right? We're gonna set up quick couplers, bucket selections, thumbs, hammers, whatever you need out on the dipper. But there's a series of things that you also select too from the factory that is set up on that machine when it arrives here on the lot. Now, granted, we have inventory, right? But not always every option. When you're looking at the front blade, you're gonna be able to get the front blade through as a straight blade, an angle blade, or this is Kubota's only model that offers a 6-way blade. The blade can also tilt left to right in order to be able to, say, crown and grade with it. Handful of options in there. We tend to sell about a 50-50 split between straight and angle blade. The angle blade's obviously going to be a little bit more expensive and sticks out a little bit further than what the straight blade does. Some people prefer that for the added stability out over top of the blade. So blade selection to make. We are a rubber track market here, but if you're in areas that have more sharp stones than what we do and you can't get away with rubber tracks, steel tracks are a factory option as well. And then lastly, when we get out here to the boom, we would see about a 50-50 split between the booms being set up with a single hydraulic function, one that's only going to operate a thumb, and that thumb has to be unplugged if you'd like to put a hammer or something on the end. Or about half of our machines are going to go out with 2 hydraulic functions out on the end. That's going to allow you to keep that thumb plumbed in if you're going to put another attachment, or if you're experimenting with things like tilt rotator buckets. We're starting to sell more of those all the time. That's a really easy installation onto a machine that already has 2 wet service ports out onto the boom. So a little bit of added cost out here, but about half of our customers are opting to go that direction for the added hydraulic flexibility. So up to this point, we haven't talked specs yet, right? And what has changed in this machine in terms of specifications? Very, very little. If you go through and you lay the KX040-4 spec sheet beside the KX040-5, most every number down through there is going to be within a couple percentage points of each other, right? Not a whole lot of swing one way or the other. But the one place that did really change is the amount of hydraulic flow that the machine has. This has about a 20% bump in hydraulic flow, going from 24 gallons a minute to 29 gallons a minute. We're going to operate the machine here for a little bit and kind of show you how that feels in operation. When we start pulling multiple functions at one time, you can really start to see the impact of that flow. That extra flow is coming from the same engine that was in here before, approximately a 40 horsepower engine. KX040 does not mean 40 horsepower. It's coincidence that those numbers line up. But this one, again, has a 40 horse engine. When you go through the engine compartment down here, it's a lot of what we typically expect from Kubota. Easy to service stuff. 2 flip-up shields here get you to most of the guts of the machine. But you are going to notice a lot has been redesigned in here. Things are in different places if you look at it compared to the prior model, probably making more room within the cab here, right? A lot of stuff was shuffled around. The important stuff, though, is kind of that daily serviceability, right? So things like engine dipsticks, filters, radiator fills, radiator cleanouts, and everything all remains right here, easy to get at on the outside of the machine. So lest you think I'm only giving you the good stuff, there's one thing here in the back of the machine that I shake my head at a little bit. Most of the time when you look at the back of an excavator, the thing that is the furthest back is the counterweight, right? If you swing the back end of this machine around and you hit something, generally you want the big piece of metal here on the back to be the first thing that's going to contact something. In the case of this one, though, the counterweight and the back of the hood here are effectively flush. And when you swing this thing around, you don't have that extra buffer room here in order to keep this from being damaged. So unfortunately, compared to the old model, I think we're going to see more cases of some scratches and back rash here on this back hood than we would have seen before. So potential trade-off in order to get more space inside the cab, more than likely, but I would have liked to see a little bit more sticking out here behind the counterweight. So I'll be quick to tell you here, when it comes to running an excavator, I'm good enough to be dangerous, but I'm far from being an expert operator. We did have, though, our expert operator out in this machine earlier, and a lot of the functions to him, frankly, felt pretty similar. Kubota always has done a good job in balancing their hydraulic systems, right? Things like being able to pull grade and that kind of stuff. Obviously, these things have been great. But the place that you can come up a little bit short would be the times that we're running attachments out on that boom that have higher hydraulic flow requirements. Think things like flails and mulchers and that kind of stuff. Or when you're trying to do something like drive the machine forward, rotate the house, and swing the boom out all at the same time. And I don't know why you would ever actually do this, but when you want to start to run a machine out of hydraulic flow, it'll happen at the times that you're kind of asking something of all of these circuits simultaneously, right? So if I do something as silly as drive while spinning, while curling out and extending my boom, you can see the machine can do all of this stuff simultaneously, which is a reflection of having that excess flow, right? A lesser machine with not as much available hydraulic flow would start to prioritize these functions one over the other, and you'd start to lose movement out of all of them and lose control. So it's gonna give you some of that better ability in order to multifunction and additional capacity for some of those demanding implements. So it's easy to sit here and talk about whiz-bang features, right? Easy hydraulic flow adjustment, but there's some practical application for this too, right? When it comes down to operating something like a thumb, if the adjustments are easy to make, you're more apt to make them, right? And if you look at the machine here with the hydraulic flow cranked the entire way up, when I go to cycle the thumb back and forth, it's quick. And if you're, say, trying to place boulders and that kind of stuff, that's probably faster than what you want. So if I take a moment here and I step into the menu, go to my auxiliaries, find my flow control menu, choose my thumb, and right now I have the flows turned the whole way open, and I take them down to, say, 30%, right? We're just gonna slow everything down a little bit. Only takes me a moment to go through here and make these settings, and there's several presets in here for different attachments. So if you'd like to have, say, thumb fast, thumb slow, or you have a hammer or something here that you put on the end, you very simply can go through and set all this stuff up in the screen. And when you've gone through and done that, you can see now my thumb moves a lot slower. So for all my rambling there, that's as long as it took me to be able to dive in the screen, create a new preset that ran the thumb at 30% hydraulic flow, and create this much softer option, you know, if you're grasping delicate objects. So that's a little bit of the KX040-5, right? Important machine for us. You can kind of see that Kubota had done a great job with that old model, great enough job for it to be in the market and be competitive for 12 years. And a lot of that modernization here in this new machine is really obvious, especially in terms of the cab and the controls and that kind of stuff. It certainly kind of meets the needs and expectations that our customers have come to have today. So shopping for a piece of equipment like this and we can help, or if you have parts or service needs for a machine you've already got, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick.com.